What's up, everybody? My name is Michael, or Kiratze online. Hopefully you guys are having a positively fantastic day so far, and I'm here with another episode of You Should Play, and this is You Should Play Battletech. And Battletech is a game that I have just been infatuated with and in love with for a good 40 to 45 hours. Not straight, obviously, but I have 40 to 45 hours in the game, and I'm nowhere near completing it. This has been one of the best games I've played in a long time as a fan of turn-based tactics games like XCOM, Wasteland 2, Shadowrun. I love this. It's easily my favorite genre. And actually related to Shadowrun, the turn-based tactics Shadowrun game, not the tabletop game. This is actually by the same developers. So this is by Harebrained Schemes, and it's published by Paradox Interactive. So it's got a lot of good people backing it. And you can get it on either GOG or Steam, or probably some other places too. But I got mine on GOG through Co-Carnage's link. And yeah, I loved Shadowrun. I loved their game there, and I love this one too. And it's nice because it's introducing me to a whole universe that I haven't had any experience with. So if you guys don't really know what Battletech is actually an already established universe running like 30 plus years back. It started out as a tabletop game, so miniatures. So if you're familiar with the Warhammer miniature game, it's similar vein. You paint your miniatures, you put them on a battlefield, and you go at it, and roll dice and all that fun stuff. And then on top of that, I learned that it sort of branched off into what is known as Mech Warrior. So the Mech Warrior games are actually in the Battletech universe. So Battletech came first, and then when they wanted to make more video game stuff, Mech Warrior sort of came to fruition. And so that's sort of where they're at with sort of the mix of things, because I didn't really know that they were related. I thought Mech Warrior and Battletech were two different things because I never did either of them. The only real mech game I played when I was a kid on the PC was Heavy Gear, if anyone even knows what that one is, and as well as playing Armored Core on my friend's PlayStation. But yeah, I'll be showing off a video of a stream that I did a couple days ago, so it's the most recent gameplay. Don't worry if you're planning on playing this, or if you are playing this, it's not spoiler territory. This is a side mission. This is an assassination mission, one of the hardest I had to do. I was very, very scared. I was almost about to lose Decker. He was almost gonna die, and I don't know if I'll get to it in how long the video is gonna be, because it took me a good 45 minutes to do this mission, maybe even a little bit longer. And don't worry, the video is not gonna be that long. This will be a pretty in-depth video though, as like always. I like to be pretty in-depth with all these videos. I know that I have had comments in the past saying, "Oh, you talk too much. Oh, why can't you just make 5 to 10 minute videos?" Yada yada yada. But I am someone who would like to sort of create content that I would like to watch myself, and I'm someone who is, if I'm looking to purchase a game, or if I want sort of a good opinion on a game to help me decide whether it's worth it or not, I want that person to be as in-depth as possible. So yeah, let's get on with it. So Battletech is like I said, a turn-based tactics game, small scale. You're only controlling 4 mechs, and in sort of a group of mechs is called a lance. That's sort of what your team is called, I guess. A lance can also include a mix of mechs and tanks when you're fighting against your opponents. And it's set in, like I said, the Battletech universe, and there is a story to this game. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is a lot of branching off. Like, there's a lot of side stuff to do. So like these side missions right here, when you go into I don't believe I have any clips of it in this video, but when you go to your hub area, there is a whole star map, and there's a ton of different systems that you can visit, each with their own different planets that have different environments and stores and black markets and factions and missions. There's an endless supply. It's all randomly generated. You will have some recurring like locations and stuff like that every once in a while, but honestly, like, you won't really notice it too much. There's a lot of different environments to be had. There is also multiplayer. You can do one-on-one skirmishes, or you can just play against the AI to practice, and you'll actually have all the mechs available to you in the mech bay for those skirmishes that you're able to just sort of build your team up however you want to go against other players or the AI. And yeah, I believe they're actually, because this was a Kickstarter game, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe they hit their goal where I think they're planning on potentially putting co-op in the game. I have no clue 100% if that's true, but I believe that's what I heard. I hope that's true, because that'd be super, super cool to have like you and another, buddy's lance go at another team, or fight off AI and stuff like that. That'd be really, really fun, I think. But this is, for those of you who are similar to, or who are used to games like XCOM, Shadowrun, and Wasteland 2, a lot of those other tactical turn-based games, you're gonna have a little bit of a different time with this. This is a much different beast, and I was actually quite surprised. It plays much differently than those games. A lot of the mechanics are much different. You will pick up the basics, obviously turn-based. You move your character. You can select different characters that can go at the same time. Use different skills potentially, and then fire off at your opponent and fight them. Now, just because of the movement and stuff like that, it's a lot more free form. So you're not really locked into like a grid. That's something like XCOM, for example, that you're locked into. So it feels a lot better. You have a lot more freedom of movement, and with that, tactics becomes a lot more prevalent. So, for example, when you move, you have to decide which way you want to face your mech, and when you get to later in the stages of the game, things like that can mean the difference between your mech dying or surviving. For example, since every single part of your mech, from the arms to the torso to the right and left torso to the head and to the legs, those are all different parts, also including your back armor. And protecting your armor is really, really important, since your structure doesn't have as much health as your armor pieces do generally. So, for example, like turning so your arm takes the shot, whereas like if your center is weak, maybe you want to turn to the left more, so the rockets and other enemy fire will be hitting your arm instead of your torso. So those kinds of plays are really, really important. And this game has a ton of tactics that goes into it. It's very, very strategic, and it has a very, very high learning curve. Especially considering they don't really have much of a tutorial at all. They have a tutorial for the very, very basics, which is like sprinting, moving, and shooting, but they have no tutorials for heat, for things like that, like in the actual game. Like in the first mission. What they do have the tutorials in there, but you have to sort of find them through the dialogue boxes, and because it's not fully voice acted, I know a lot of people might look at the game, and especially when you get into the hub area, that's where you have to talk to all your crew members and like figure out the tutorials for how to build your mechs and things like that, and where to go on the star map. A lot of people won't want to do that, and a lot of people might miss those tutorials. So I think they really need to sort of add something in, or maybe make it a little bit easier to have access to those things, I guess, because there's some really important mechanics that are unique to Battletech, for example, like heat and stability. I believe stability actually isn't in the tabletop game, but it is, they put it in the video game version. Again, I'm not well versed in the tabletop or the MechWarrior universe, so I apologize if I get anything incorrect. You can feel free to chastise me in the comments below. But yeah, the gameplay is really, really fun. I'm just a huge fan of it. I was a little bit worried about how basic it was going to be, because what I noticed was the weapons, and you can see in the bottom right there's weapons there. There isn't like a ton of variety in terms of weapons. Like you have like people who have played Battletech and MechWarrior know like what kind of weapons you'll expect. But you have pretty much just like your small, medium, and long range lasers. You have your SRM and LRMs, which are your short range missiles and your long range missiles, and then you have your autocannons, and those are come in varying degrees and sizes. But on top of that, but other than that, you have like some utility weapons like flamers and machine guns and small lasers. But other than that, you have just slight variations. So you can see plus signs beside some of the weapons. That just means an upgraded version of that weapon, and they can have a variety of different mix of effects. So for example, one plus SRM might have +4 damage per rocket, but another plus SRM might have +2 stability damage, or +50% crit. So there is a little bit of a mix there, but in terms of how they operate, it's fairly basic. So as someone who likes a lot of variety, I was a little bit worried going into this game, thinking that it might get a little bit boring, and it might be a little bit more restrictive in how I play, since there's not like a huge variety of things you can put on your mech. But when I got into the game, what I found, especially when you start customizing my mech, and later on in this video, or maybe right now, I'll start throwing in some of the clips of me customizing my mechs. It gets pretty freaking in depth, and that mainly comes from the fact that you have actually a large variety of mechs. So I believe there's at least 20 to 25 mechs you can have in the game, or you have access to in the game. Now, there is sort of like a catch 'em all type aspect of the game where when you're fighting and doing contracts, you can either negotiate for having more money or more salvage or more reputation. And it's actually a balancing act, because if you actually slide the slider up for more salvage, you'll get less money. If you want more money, you'll get less salvage at the end of the mission, and vice versa. And salvage is sort of the pieces that you pick up from the battlefield. So if you get more salvage, you'll also be able to choose what kind of salvage you want from the pile, as well as a bunch of random salvage. And that's actually how you can collect different mechs in this game. And there's different ways you can destroy them, where you'll get the most salvage. So if you get cored in this game, like if your torso blows up, your mech dies. It's an instant kill, just because your cockpit is sitting right above that, and apparently it's like a reactor, so it's a big explosion. But that might only yield one piece of salvage for that mech. Whereas if I shoot for the head has the lowest armor. It's a one-hit kill because it instantly kills the pilot. But it's a very, very low chance to hit. But if I kill the head, then I get a full set of salvage. I get all 3 parts because we didn't really have to destroy much of the mech in the process. You can also do things like knock the mech down and then shoot both of its legs out. That also will yield 2 pieces of salvage. And yeah, that's sort of how you can collect mechs over time and add them to your mech bay and your arsenal. And then you can just customize them however you want, and there's a lot of different variations. Like, even though like this mech, for example, is a Thunderbolt, or you might see a Thunderbolt, or like this base mechs, and then there's also variations on top of those mechs. So one Thunderbolt might have like more missile hardpoints, which are, and hardpoints are just sort of the slots that you put in for each type of weapon. Another Thunderbolt might have more laser hardpoints, and it really offers you a lot of customization and a lot of ways to just make your lance feel like your own. And you can do some crazy things, because on top of all that, it's not just slotting in your weapons. You can customize everything from how many heat sinks you want, or how much armor you want for each piece of your mech. So if I want to make a glass cannon, that's something that you could do, because you could actually lower all the values of your armor like manually, and then you'll have all that more weight for your weapons. And that's sort of the only restrictive thing in this game is your tonnage, which is how much your mech can hold. There's different classes of mechs ranging from light mechs, medium mechs, heavy mechs, and assault mechs. And obviously a light mech's not going to be able to hold as large of weapons or as many weapons as a assault mech, but it's able to move a lot faster and a lot further, and also gain more evasion chevrons, which the farther you move, the more evasion chevrons you'll get. Just sort of imagining that everything's happening in real time, even though it's a turn-based game. So yeah, I think right here is where I'll put sort of the clips for my customization and on my mechs and stuff like that. And each as long as you have the hard points for it, you can have a lot of variety of customization for that mech, even though and like I said, you're pretty much just locked down by how much tonnage you have remaining. So like, if I have 3 laser hardpoints on my right torso, I'm not restricted to just, one type of laser. I can put, a PPC, which is like a sniper laser, and then like 2 medium lasers, or I could do, 2 large lasers, a medium laser. I could go all out with just 3 medium lasers, or 3 large lasers, as long as I have the weight to withhold that. As well as, obviously, you have to worry about your heat. So having enough heat sinks sufficient enough for that type of mech, since lasers do produce the most heat. And they also have missiles and stuff like that. And there's also even like rare weaponry in the game, like Gauss rifles and stuff like that you can find throughout the story, and rare mechs as well. That's called Lost Tech, and I believe they're actually working on buffing the Lost Tech in the game because apparently it's pretty weak at the moment. The developers actually had an AMA on the subreddit, the Battletech game subreddit. So if you're actually interested in learning more about what their plans are for the near future, definitely highly recommend going to Battletech game, going to the Battletech game subreddit because I believe it's pinned on that subreddit. And they mentioned that they're going to be releasing both free DLC and paid DLC, which is I think perfectly fine considering they didn't even release the game at a full price. It's 100% worth it even if it was full priced, but the fact that they're releasing it at $45 Canadian is great, because it makes, I already have, like I said, 40 plus hours of time into this game, and I'm barely halfway through, I feel like, because I've been doing a lot of side missions. I've been trying to hunt for certain, specific mechs and just, customizing and stuff like that. It's just really, really fun. Now, I should probably talk about a little bit of the downsides. Right now, there's only sort of two, I wouldn't say even like major complaints. There's just one of them I think might be a little bit more major for some people. First off, the game isn't exactly the well optimized. It runs on the Unity engine. It's brought on a whole bunch of problems from a slight memory leak. It almost feels like the longer you play the game, the slower it gets. The more save files you have in the game, the slower the gameplay. Well, not sorry. The more save files you have, the longer the load times are and the less responsive your UI is. On top of that, there is some optimization issues, some heavy FPS drops at certain points. You probably noticed them actually watching this video. But they have addressed in the AMA that's one of their top priorities. So expect that stuff to be smoothed out anyways. Like I said, those things they can fix easily. On the other hand, another sort of complaint that I could see people is that people will probably look at this game and be like, oh, it's XCOM with mechs. It's really not. It's a completely different beast. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, a lot of the tactics and just the mechanics of the game, you're not going from like room to room as like a small squad of people. You're in these large hulking mechs, and what that does is it does create for sort of a slower experience, a little bit more of a tactical experience. Now, I wouldn't say it's just like super, super slow, but it definitely, if you're comparing it to something like XCOM, it feels slower because you have these big hulking mechs and, it's not as streamlined where you have like the grids already intact. There is a lot more freedom of movement in this game. So, that comes with a lot more decision making. And it's not like you have like a squad of 4 people running from room to room, and when you're zoomed in like that, it feels faster because you can see everyone running and sprinting and stuff like that. In this game, even when you're sprinting, it still looks like the mechs are just sort of hulking around because they're tons and tons of weight in the game. But the game does have a lot of weight to it. I like it. Additionally, the dynamic camera needs a little bit of work. You can turn it off, or at least make it a lot less frequent. I think that's a good thing to have there. I personally don't like it, so I turned mine down. Additionally, the game is very overwhelming right off the start, and if you're someone like me who doesn't have any sort of prior Battletech or MechWarrior knowledge, you might be a little bit overwhelmed, but like I said before, this game just has a really high learning curve. This game is sort of like EFT in the sense that it has a high learning curve, but underneath that learning curve is a very, very deep and complex experience in the best of ways. I love these types of games. Sorry, I just need some water. And so I love games like this. I love having variety and sort of how I'm able to play. Because even in like XCOM, for example, like you could choose quite a bit on how you wanted to build your team, but from person to person, there wasn't like a bajillion different choices for play styles. In this game, it feels like you have more control over each mech since you're able to slot out so many different weapons. Like I took one mech that was sort of like had some missiles on it and a few lasers, and I flipped it around and I removed all that stuff. I stripped it completely and put in like super close range lasers and jump jets and machine guns and made it into a mech that where it normally would play maybe some long range or some mid-range combat. I made it into a more mobile mech with the jump jets, so it can jump behind mechs and shoot them from the rear, or since that's where their armors are the weakest. So like I said, it just offers you a lot of different ways to make it feel like your own play style, or fit your own play style, I guess I should say. But yeah, in terms of the actual story and stuff like that, it's a pretty cliche story. A lot of the stuff you can sort of see coming. One of the main characters is voice acted by the main character in Deus Ex. What's his name? Jenner? Shoot, I this is gonna bug me. What's his name? Adam Jensen. I don't know why I said Jenner is actually one of the mechs in this game, so that's why I said Jenner. Adam Jensen, the guy who voice acts that guy, actually is in this game too, which is pretty cool. I believe he actually asked to be in this game, and they said it was cool, so that's pretty awesome of them. But yeah, there is, I don't know what else I can say about this game. I could probably go on and on about the specifics of the game, like from tactics and stuff like that. If you guys are playing this game and you guys are interested in some tips and tricks from my point of view, and you guys would like a video on that, feel free to let me know. I would love to make some of those videos for you, since this is a very high learning curve game, but it's extremely fun. It's pretty easy to pick up if you're if you're used to and familiar with tactics games. But like I said, don't go into this game thinking it's just like XCOM or Wasteland 2 or any of those other turn-based tactics games. It's definitely its own beast. And you know, I really like that. I like that it's, you know, it feels like a unique turn-based tactics game. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I just have like nothing but praise about this game. There is some more rough around the edges types of things with this game, but a lot of that stuff is going to be worked out through patches, and I cannot wait for more content. By the time I'm actually done this game, I'm sure they'll actually have put out some updates for the game in terms of content, hopefully, or at least released some plans for updates, because they are going to be putting in more mechs and things like that, guaranteed. I believe the developer who was in the AMA was under NDA, so he just said that they have plans. He couldn't confirm whether a specific mech or not was going to be in the game, because like I said, this is an already established universe, so you'll see a lot of people wanting like their favorite mechs in the game, since they don't have, since there's a lot of different timelines as well in the Battletech universe. I don't know specifically which one this is part of, since I don't know the other ones, but people are wondering what kind of DLC they're going to put in terms of like different timelines from the Battletech universe, which I'm just excited to see. It's a very, very cool universe. I really, really like it. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for me, guys. If you guys want to watch me stream this game, I am definitely streaming this game a lot. You can find that link in the description below. Feel free to hit that follow button. Would love to have you on Twitch. I can't thank everyone who has also watched my Project Gorgon video and has stopped by. That video passed over 5,000 views. You guys are insane. I don't know why some of those videos get popular, but I'm glad you guys enjoyed them nonetheless. And I really do appreciate everyone stopping by my Twitch channel and saying that, Project Gorgon, I watched your video and, convinced me to buy it, and give it a shot. And I'm really enjoying it. Seeing those types of comments really does motivate me to make more videos like this, because, I don't, it's not like I'm doing this as a paid promotion or anything like that. I just make these videos because I do enjoy these games so much, and I want people who are sort of on the fence about this game or about some of these games, I want them to get a better idea of whether or not it's worth it for them to buy into it. And Battletech definitely is 100%. It's one of the best games I've played in a while, and it's probably my favorite tactics game other than XCOM now. It's just very, very good. Albeit a little rough around the edges and a little tough to get into if you are new to tactics games or if you are new to Battletech. But either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions about the game, let me know in the comments below, or like I said, feel free to follow my Twitch channel and drop a question while I'm live. Yeah, but that's going to do it. Take care. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you guys next time.